Williamson. Nice to have you back. Today we're actually going to feature a different person. So we're going to feature John McDougall with Mary McDougall. John McDougall actually has his own program. It's a 10-day program and also a 3-day program. This is his cookbook, which is the McDougall Quick and Easy Cookbook. He does have a couple other ones out there. But the recipe that we're going to focus on today is the spinach lasagna, which is absolutely wonderful. The lasagna is actually one that I have made, and I've taken it to a lot of different parties, and I've taken it to brunches, I've taken it to Thanksgiving, all those different places. People, and they put it out on the plate, or I just put it out on the table and stuff, and people just, they're sit there and they eat like tons and tons of it and have no idea what's in it. So it's a great recipe to take, and I guarantee you people will love it when they try it. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to make the sauce. So we're going to make the ricotta. So it's not made with cheeses and things like that, it's a little bit different. So the first thing that you have, of course, is your hard tofu. So you want to make sure that you've got your very firm tofu. So what I did, I just drained it out in the little packet. Then I crumbled it up because it's a little bit easier when you put it in a food processor. So it's one of the tubs. So I just put that in there, dump it in. Whoops, man overboard. The second thing that I have is silken tofu. So silken tofu either comes in these little packets that are next to the Chinese aisle, and you can keep them in your pantry for days and days, but they now make it where you can actually put it in where it's next to the firm tofu, so you can, and they usually use it for, say, smoothies, those type of things, but this is all ready, so I just crumbled it up, same thing, just dump it in. So that's the whole pack. You can tell this makes a lot of ricotta. The next thing I do is I put a medium onion, so I chop it up. You can use a red onion, yellow onion, white onion. This is just one I had, which was the white onion. So I just chop it up. I just dump that in. Very easy. Then parsley. So you want a couple tablespoons of parsley. So this is parsley that we actually grew in the garden, which is really nice. I think it has that nice fragrant smell. So you put a little bit of parsley. Do a couple tablespoons, just measure it out. The one thing I forgot to have out and ready was the basil. So you want to have Italian spices. Get that ready. Tell, fresh, right from the store. So a couple tablespoons of that, so I'm just going to measure it out just lightly, because you want to give that really nice smell of the Italian spices. And this one's just a Italian style spice. Then the next thing you want to do is you add a little bit of lemon juice for freshness. So you're going to add a tablespoon and a half of lemon juice. Just dump that in, about a half. This is really nice. This is actually in the freezer aisle. So there's a lot of times of stuff when you try to keep lemons around and it's hard, or you get the other stuff that's in those kind of tall jars and it tastes really fake. This one's actually 100% lemon juice, and it's not a commercial for Minute Maid, but it's in the freezer aisle with all the vegetables and the fruits, but it's really good because you can keep it in your refrigerator or your freezer for a long time. So highly recommend this if you need lemon juice. And then we have a little bit of soy milk. So a quarter cup. This helps everything kind of mix up a little bit. So do a quarter cup of that. Dump that in. And if you need a little bit more, you can always pour it in towards the end, so if it gets a little chunky for you. And then last and not least, nutritional yeast. So some of you that are watching this video are probably thinking, what is nutritional yeast? It's really interesting. It actually, if you smell it and smell it up close, it smells just like a cheese, so kind of like a cheese flavor. And it looks cheesy because it's yellow, and it comes in these little tiny flakes. So the little flakes almost remind me of fish food, so don't equate it to fish food. It's not, doesn't taste anything like it. But what you'll find is a lot of people will use this nutritional yeast. They'll put it in things like ricotta to make a cheese, or they'll put it on top of popcorn, they'll put it on top of all kinds of different things. There's a way to do it, but this is a nice way and stuff to get that cheese flavor. So the recipe usually says about a quarter cup of nutritional yeast. I like it really cheesy, and when I'm making it for other individuals, I really like to have it where it's really cheesy and really kind of rich. So I usually put a little over a cup in it. So I'm just going to put that in. You can see it just flops right in there. And now that's ready to go. So now we're going to get it top on, and we're just going to mix it up. Sometimes you have to stop it just a little bit just to get it all mixed up, because you'll notice your nutritional yeast will go on the side. minute or so because you want to make sure your onions in there are really grinding up. All right, it looks really smooth. So the nutritional yeast, I'm going to leave it in here in the thing, but if you noticed here, it has a really nice yellow color, nice consistency. One of the other things that you can put in your nutritional yeast, or actually your ricotta, is you can actually put some garlic if you want to. I didn't put any garlic in this because I have quite a bit of garlic in the sauce, so I didn't want to over garlic anything. So, but that is another thing that you can drop in some garlic cloves and mix that all up into. All right, so now we're actually ready to just put these out of the way. We're going to be ready to build a lasagna. So you have a regular glass pan. So what I did a little bit earlier, I'll just put that in there. So what I did a little bit earlier is I cooked the noodles. So when you're cooking the noodles, you'll notice that these are a little hard, but you don't want to have them really, really soft, because if they get too soft, then when they start cooking, they get mushy. So you want to just have them where they're kind of an al dente. So but the first thing you're going to do is you've got the sauce, which I made. So you could use, a jar sauce, whatever you like, make your own sauce. This one's actually homemade, so it has crushed tomatoes, has tomato sauce, has tomato paste, has like the basil, the oregano, sage, everything. So it's just kind of adding the base, put on the tomatoes in, and then add your flavors to it of how you would like. So to start it out, you're going to put a couple spoonfuls of the sauce at the bottom, because you want to make sure that the noodles are not just sitting on the plate. You want to make sure that they're getting all that goodness of all the tomatoes. So put that in there like that. Shake it up a little bit, so it's a nice just a covering with that. Then you're going to add the noodles. Put those down. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to build a couple layers, and then what I'll do is I'll kind of come back and I'll show you how it's all made up. So you've got the layers here. Then you're going to come back with your ricotta. So you're going to mix that in. So you just put just a spoonful just on each one of the noodles and spread it out. So the ricotta is really going to depend. If you're a really big cheese ricotta person and you really like that, then you're going to want to put extra of this on it because it makes a lot. If you like it more just for the flavor and just where it tastes really good all the way through, then you're just going to spread just maybe like say a quarter inch to an inch or quarter inch to a half inch on the layers, because you'll find that once you do 4 or 5 layers in here, you're going to have a lot of ricotta. Spread that out. And you want to make sure that you always get the sides too, because what ends up happening a lot of times is it stays on the noodles and then your sides get a little dry. So you want to make sure you've covered all that up. Just a little bit more. So if you're looking at it right now, a little messy here on the side. If you look at it right now, you've got your tomato sauce, you've got your noodles, you've got your thin layer of ricotta, and then what you're going to want to add is spinach. So a lot of recipes will tell you that go ahead and use the frozen spinach, or you can use the fresh spinach, and then you can go ahead and then you put them and you steam it a little bit. I find that when you steam it, it makes it really messy and it's hard to get the pieces out and you get like really big chunks, versus if you use the fresh, just like this. And then what you want to do too is if it has a little end on it, you want to say, so like this one here. You want to snap off the end, because there's not really a reason why you want to eat the ends. And then what you do is just creatively just place the leaves all over. And you'll think, wow, I wonder if that's going to cook. It actually cooks really well, and it keeps the spinach really fresh. So let me put a layer here, and then I'll show you what it looks like. Just spread it out, and if it gets a little clumpy in one area, just pick them up and kind of move them around a little bit. And remember too, you don't want to put a tremendous amount, just because if you put too much, once you start putting all the layers, you're going to have way too much spinach. Unless you really like spinach and really want it thick, then add as much as you'd like. So you notice there? We got a little bit of the spinach. It's just placed all over the place. So with this one, I'm actually going to add a little bit of a vegan cheese. So usually when I make it at home, I don't add the cheese at all. I just put everything together and then cook it all up, and then it's really, really good. But since I'm actually making this for somebody else who absolutely adores a flavor of cheese, but I don't want to be able to feed him the cheese, we have this thing called, I'm just using the Go Veggie. So it's a lactose-free and a soy-free, so it's a rice cheese, and it actually just holds things better, it holds the things together a little bit. So let me just grab a little bit of that. Normally, remember when you used to make the lasagna, or your mom did, and she'd put like layers and layers and layers of cheese? I don't do that at all. All I do is I just put a very, very thin layer. Just a little bit to kind of give the flavor and a little bit of the shred. So, well, that's all I did. So you notice there, just a little bit of the cheese. So the next layer, so you've got this all together. So the next layer, of course, is you start back over. You've got your tomato sauce. Just kind of spread it over. It's interesting because if you take just a little bit and then you spread it a little bit, then it actually doesn't take a lot of sauce. Just a little bit more. Looks like I took one of the leaves off of that. All right. Okay, so the end of the next layer that I'm going to do, of course, is put your noodles. So you got 3 noodles. There. And then you've got the ricotta. So you spread that out. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and finish this, and I'm going to finish up the top layer, and then I will show you what it looks like when it gets ready to go in the oven. Welcome back. So I have actually put the 5 layers together. So you'll notice in this pan that's here, there's 5 layers. So of course we start out with the tomato sauce on the bottom, then we have your noodles, and then on top you put the ricotta, then you put your spinach, put a little bit of cheese, but remember, it doesn't need cheese at all. You could actually do it with no cheese, especially if you can't find it or it's something that you prefer to stay away from. A little bit of cheese, just a tiny, tiny bit, and then you put the next layer. So you just keep adding everything all the way to the top. So at the very top, I have the last layer of noodles, I have your ricotta, I have the spinach, the tomato sauce, and then what I did on the top too is I put Roma tomatoes. Roma tomatoes in the oven are absolutely wonderful. So I just cut up little slices and put them as a decorative. When they cook down, the cheese kind of bubbles over them, and they're absolutely wonderful. And then I put just a sprinkling. So there's probably maybe 2 tablespoons of cheese, probably a total of maybe 4 or 5 tablespoons. So very, very little cheese. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this in the oven, and then when it comes out, I'm going to show you what it looks like. It's absolutely wonderful. I guarantee you everybody will love it. All right, now we're back. So the spinach lasagna that we made just a little while earlier is all ready to go. As you see, as I've let it cool so I can actually touch the pan. There it is, all done. You can see it's got the yellows, the greens, the reds, the tomatoes on top, everything. A little bit of the cheese. It smells absolutely wonderful. So I have a little plate here. So I put a spinach salad because, you know, spinach lasagna, spinach salad, really good ingredients. So let me go ahead and dish this out here. Alright, there you go. So there we have it, spinach lasagna with a great little salad. What a better way to end an evening. Have a great evening, and I'll talk to you the next time at the next video. Bye-bye.